have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
G'day folks, how are you? Hope you're doing all right. I'm going to try and put a little bit of light in the subject. No, I'm not, because the light's not going to turn on. Well, let's hope that one stays on. Otherwise, it's going to get very dark in here very quickly. How has your Thursday been? I trust you've been puddling along like most of us. It's been a bloody warm one around here, got to say. But better than the alternative, because I know in some places, particularly Tasmania, been bloody freezing. I've got so many pictures loaded up tonight. I don't have a picture of Jimmy, Rachel's sort of adopted dog, who is dressed up in his warmest Tasmanian woolies at the moment. He and his little girlfriend. They're having a little bit of a chill blow through there at the moment. Bit chilly in Victoria at certain times too. And, of course, there are all other weird things happening in Victoria. We'll get into that a little bit later on. Increased crime numbers that you're just simply not going to believe. Day 2 of Ben Roberts-Smith's incarceration, and I want to thank Beckio from Truth Seekers, who watched last night's show, and before we'd even finished that show, had done up this poster. Now, this poster is available at vofhq.com. It's on the front page. It's free. You just download it, and you can post that wherever the hell you would like to post it. But particularly when it comes up on Anzac Day, you can get this printed out pretty cheaply at any Officeworks or one of those sorts of places. Potentially even put it on a bit of card, put it on a board, and take that to your Anzac Day service on the 25th of April. Ben is in day 2 of incarceration. This is partly by design, in that he did not apply for bail yesterday in the bail court, because if he had have been knocked back, that is the one and only chance at bail that he will get. They would be able to hold him without another court appearance for up to 2 years if they knocked him back on that bail. So the latest information that I am guided to suggests that there will be a bail hearing for him in another 8 odd days or so, around the 17th of this month, and that's where an application for bail will be made. One can only think that the national interest in this case by that time will be a lot more significant than it is today, and today it is extremely significant. The level of interest has peaked so far that there is a petition, at least one petition going around, that has well over 10, probably closer to over 15,000 names on it by now. In fact, I might be able to dig that one out and post that in the chat if they actually give me a link to it. I've been struggling to find links to these things today. No, and see, they're not posting it. So that gives you an idea of how mainstream media are saying. They're alluding to the fact that there are petitions, and one of them, in fact, has over 10,000 signatures gathered in the last 24 hours, but they don't give you a link to it. So we'll find it, don't worry, and we will get it put up. But Ben and his family can do with your help, and we'll speak more about Ben, and particularly his mother, who has a great deal to say about Andrew Hastie, who you will know is no fan of mine, or I'm no fan of his, I should say. I used to have a great amount of respect and admiration even for Andrew Hastie. When he first came on the scene for the Liberal Party, I thought he might just be what they're saying he's going to be, the great white Liberal leader. We'll speak about that in a little while. But before we get to that, I want to say good day to everybody in the room. First up, there have been so many who pop in early. Lady Rada first in the house tonight. I don't think Vince is awake. I tried ringing him a little earlier and I didn't get anything back. so he didn't answer. So he's either busy or at work. Aussie Sue, love you, darling. And of course, as always, please like and subscribe, as she keeps telling us to do. Our algorithms do get messed with. So if you have subscribed already and you think you are, but maybe you're not getting notifications, just check that you are still subscribed. YouTube, has a way of wiping subscriptions without telling anybody. So give us a thumbs up and share the show if you think you're getting a benefit from it. And many people get benefits from the show in vastly different ways. I'm very shocked at the different reactions that I get and the different reasons that people listen to the show. I'm very grateful for all of them. So thank you very much. Tony, love your work, brother. And speaking of your work, Rachel and Tony put together a healing session on the 4th of the 4th. So it was over the weekend. And this healing session was for, in general, our Voice of Freedom family. This is remote healing. But in particular for a couple of our members, one of whom is in the chat, the fellow who's been starring most nights for the last little while, this bloke, the wonderful Gregory, or what the, as we refer to him, currently sitting in the Sunshine Coast University Hospital, Ward 4C, if you're on the Sunshine Coast and you want to call in and see him. He'll be there for a little while yet. Ward C, should I give out the bed number? Sure, bed 9. Whiz down and say hi. He would love to catch up with any of our family who happen to be on the Sunshine Coast. And I know you've all got lives, you're all busy, you're all doing things, so please don't feel obligated. But if the opportunity were to pass you and you happen to be going past SCOO and think, oh yeah, look, I can pop in for 5, 10, half an hour, whatever it is, Greg would probably love to see a smiling face from the Voice of Freedom family. In fact, I can guarantee you he would. And he may share an Easter egg with you, because he is, shall I say, well endowed with them after Margie, who had looked like an entire paddock of rabbits had given birth in the front of her house with Easter eggs, and left a few rabbits as well. So she very generously said, please give these to Greg. So I've taken them to the hospital on the way back yesterday. Greg got a hold of those. I'm sure he didn't scoff them all. He will be trying to bribe certain nurses with them, I'm pretty confident. But if you get there quick enough, you might be able to get a taste. And fingers crossed, news from him this morning, the update I received this morning was very positive. So positive that it sounds like he's going to go back in for surgery. Yeah, I know. How does that work out as positive? Well, it does, because he has exceeded all expectations from the medical teams there. His recovery to this point, with the way that the grafts have gone so far, have far exceeded anything that they thought possible. And that has encouraged them to think that, well, maybe we can recover this a little bit further by putting another vein into the areas at the moment, the particularly discolored ones, and seeing whether or not that can bring them back to a decent, lively color. So the news was early this morning he went nil by mouth, but then they sort of shied away from that. Something else must have happened. So he's sort of an on again, off again chance for going back under the knife again in the next 24 hours or 48 hours or 72. Yeah, it's a university hospital. You've got to have kids to teach, don't you? Oh, sorry, Greg. Anyway, mate, enjoy the chocolates, and all power to you. I'm sure I'll get an update tomorrow morning. There is every chance you get rolled in overnight. Who knows? Stranger things have occurred in stranger places. I caught up with a letter that was put up by Rubes, Aussie Rubes, and Rubes Flyers, you might know him of. So I'll go through that very shortly. I'll just go back and finish acknowledging folks who are in the show. And what they're saying, yeah, thanks. That's true. Every day we stay solid is another win. Getting back to the healing. Now, the healing thing that was happening with Greg, with our very own Rachel and Tony, and a few others, is going to happen again on the 5th of the 5th. I'm pretty sure it'll happen at 5 p.m. It might happen at 5 a.m. as well. There is a certain synergy with all of that. We'll let you know closer to the date. But if you are unwell, or if you're feeling like you could use a little bit of healing and you've never tried this kind of thing before, maybe you were a bit skeptical, as we all are, I think, when we're first approached with this kind of thing, then please let me know. We're going to develop a list of people who can go into these healing sessions, who these sessions can be done in aid of. And if you would like to go on that list, whether you've got arthritis or if you've got something that X39 patches don't help you with, then please let me know. Carl@vofhq.com, and I will put them all into a place where the healers can get a hold of this information. You have to acknowledge that you will receive this help. And I think Tony, who's in the chat, can probably post up exactly what he requires from you if you are going to let his healing team work. And that is basically an acknowledgement that you're going to let this remote healing thing happen. But Tony can probably give you better details in the chat, and I'll have further details for you. If that's something you want to do, email me, carl@vofhq.com, and we will go from there. G'day, Distilling Dave. I hope you are doing all right, brother. The government isn't hiding intelligence, lack or disdain for nearly everything, everyone. No, they're not. They're not hiding anything at all. They're, in fact, getting worse and worse by the friggin' day. And I just don't know how. There doesn't seem to be a length they won't go to basically thumb their nose at society. It is absolutely unbelievable. Phil, I hope you are doing all right, brother. Good to have you in the house. Hello, the lovely Jenny Dean. I used to work with a lovely lady named Jenny Dean. Although I don't think she used Jenny. No, it wasn't Jenny. It was Jan. I beg your pardon. Look, old mind. It's going back 30 plus years at least anyway, to Shepparton in Victoria, where I once worked. G'day, Scotty, the news. G'day, Ian. Hello, Katrina. Lovely to have you in. Johanna, Bulls Knots is in the house. I love that. Hello, Margot and Penny and the lovely Donna. Well, we've got a few Donnas in. Donna Boccolate. Like that. Is that really your name? I do like that. G'day, Jason. Jason Hutt, that would be. Black Sheep is in the house. 26 here today in Gippsland. Says Lady Ryder. Well, yeah, that'd be pretty warm for Gippsland. Best time of the year in Tassie. Well, yeah, this is about the time of year I went to Tassie a little later after I'd done the run with Ricardo. And I've got to say, the weather in Tasmania was beautiful every day, except every day it was pummeled by planes. And it was so easy to see that Tasmania was targeted, because none of these aircraft were coming into land at Hobart or at Launceston. They were all flying at great height over the top on beautiful, and Black Sheep will tell you, our drive from basically where he picked me up, which I think was Devonport or Launceston, he picked me up. And then we drove around and eventually wound up at Hobart and around where he is. That day we did the big drive, if you like, around the East Coast. I think we counted 8 planes, and they literally checkerboarded the sky over Tasmania. It was disgusting to see, absolutely disgusting. And Malibu Bert, who were we having on again for another chat, we called in and saw her on that trip, and it was quite amazing to see just how upset she was about it too. She's very aware, that lady, very aware. Don't forget, ask Malibu at vofhq.com. And if you want a little bit of help, or you've got some questions, you might be looking for some answers, or you just might be looking to talk, she's there for you. G'day, Kobe Wiggle. Nice to have you in the house. That's a new name I don't recall seeing, but then again, I don't see them all. And Kobe Wiggle, I ain't got to like any name that's Kobe, haven't you? I'm missing Kobe. I've missed Kobe for a long time. He's a beautiful, beautiful boy. Oh, Vincenzo was awake, but he's going out to a My Place meeting. Thank you, brother. Nice to have you in. There you go. Ward 4C, room 9. I wasn't giving away too much. If you want to go in and see that's where he is. That's the Sunshine Coast University Hospital. You will hear me refer to it as SCU, because that's sort of what everybody who knows it as up there is. SCUH, SCU, Sunshine Coast University Hospital. Wards 4C. Green. Go to the green area, take the green lifts up to the 4th floor, walk out, turn right, walk straight down the hall and keep walking. You'll walk into room 9. It's that easy. And yes, he may have chocolate to share. God love you all. Thanks for being in the chat tonight. Let's flick over and have a bit of a chat. So look at what's happened. Rube's posted this letter. Now, he put a little video up. It's not a little video. It's 10.5 minutes long, so it's a bit long to play. But he doesn't know who wrote this letter. Nobody seems to know who wrote this letter. But I thought it's worthwhile breaking it down. Always remember the last time that the federal government and all state and territory governments locked millions of Australians in their homes for months. They fired rubber bullets at unarmed protesters. They arrested a pregnant woman in her pajamas for a Facebook post. They closed state borders and trapped citizens in their own country. They kept citizens abroad from returning to their own country. They forced people to choose between an injection and their livelihood. They locked entire housing towers of the poorest people in Melbourne inside with armed guards and no notice. They told you church wasn't essential, but bottle shops were. They fined families for visiting their grandparents. They stopped families from attending loved ones' funerals. They allowed NRL and AFL teams to cross state borders while not allowing Australian citizens to cross those same borders or to visit family. This is just to name a few, and not one of them has been held to account. No one has apologised. Not one has been charged. These are the people now asking you to trust them with your fuel supply, to voluntarily change your behaviour, to think of others, to comply for the greater good. The greater good, the two most dangerous words in the English language. Every atrocity in human history was committed in the name of the greater good. Every right you lost during COVID was taken for the greater good. Every freedom you surrendered was demanded for the greater good. The Prime Minister's address on the 1st of April was not about fuel. It was about a conditioning exercise. They're measuring your compliance threshold. They're testing whether you've forgotten. They're betting on your short-term memory and your willingness to obey. Prove them wrong. Do not forget what they did. Do not trust the people who brutalized you to now protect you. Do not hand over one more ounce of freedom to the governments that have never returned the last freedoms they took. They're running the same play. Don't fall for it twice. This is all about control. While they sit back watching many of us running around in fear, worrying when fuel's going to run out, they'll be rubbing their greedy little hands together, making a profit. And they will use any excuse to keep filling their pockets and bleeding Australians dry. Thank you from a proud but concerned and fed up Australian. Never truer words spoken. Thank you, whoever wrote that. We aren't being governed. We are being looted. 100% at every turn. The question is, are the unawakened that you're aware of starting to wake up and believe this? Are they starting to think, Well, if they are just starting to, well, maybe if they're not, maybe this next story will push them over the edge just a little bit. The Australian government has released a 78-page report on the COVID vaccine batch tests obtained via a Freedom of Information request, which was heavily redacted, with nearly every word blacked out, leaving only fragments like dates, lot numbers, and technical labels visible. The document was released by the Therapeutic Goods Administration, the TGA, in response to a request by concerned medical staff and doctors. The TGA deemed the results of the inquiry into the batch results must not be made public under any circumstances. Reports from July 2024 and April 2026 describe the document as almost entirely blacked out, with some sources claiming that every single word on every page was redacted. Similar redactions have been noticed in the US CDC documents regarding internal communications, although fact checkers have clarified that some of those documents are not studies, but exempt internal communications. Paul Oosterhuis, who has been working with our New Zealand counterparts, Liz Gunn, and the man who blew the lid off the New Zealand scam, Barry Young, isn't very happy about it either. Australian government redacts every single word of a 78-page report into the COVID vaccine batch tests. And couldn't agree with him here. Nothing says transparency quite like 78 fully blacked out pages. Those pesky little bad batch numbers. That data reflects very badly on good manufacturing practices, he suspects. And I could only agree with him. Good manufacturing practices. Now, there was a young lady, we played the video, which has since, I believe, been removed from everywhere. And it was one of the videos, I'm pretty confident, that was banned from mine. We played a young woman who used to work for Pfizer. She was a quality control manager there. And she explained that in her role as a quality control manager for the spicy cough rollout and the fluid they were rolling out, she discovered a great many very, very poor manufacturing standards, and the fact that these vials that were being sent out in batches were in fact infected or otherwise breached by contaminants. And those contaminants ranged from, DNA particles through to plastic particles and all sorts of other bits and pieces. It was very, very strange. She also blew the lid off how this fluid was transported, bulk transported, and it was usually transported in something akin to a wine cask, just a much bigger one, depending on who it was going to and how much was required. That lady has since disappeared off the face of the earth. I'm not sure whether or not she's just trying to duck for cover, because her report was quite massive. The information she supplied was, I think, pivotal in bringing down Pfizer the first time. And there's more that has to come out about not just Pfizer, but all of them. And I believe that there is some moves afoot for that to happen. This is separate but slightly related news out of France.
22 people have gone on trial in France on charges of murder and other serious crimes, centered on members of a Masonic lodge accused of running hit squads. Those in the dock include 4 military personnel from France's Foreign Intelligence Service, 2 police officers, a retired domestic intelligence officer, a security guard, and 2 business executives. One victim, who survived 2 assassination attempts, explains the consequences of the attacks.
Trouble du stress post-traumatique dont je n'arrive pas à sortir en fait depuis 6 ans, ça revient par épisode. Cancer et puis exclusion de ma profession également. Voilà, ça fait quand même beaucoup de choses.
Most of the accused aged between 30.
So it is a Masonic trial, a trial based on ritual that these people have exhibited over that lady and quite a few others. It sort of indicates to me that judiciary in certain parts of the world, at least, is starting to wake up and looking at some of the crimes that have been committed and covered up by the Masonic filth, not just in France, but all over the world, and particularly here in Australia. So it gives me hope, and that's the reason I played that. It gives me a little bit of hope that we are going to see that happen here sooner, much sooner rather than later, I suspect. All right, let's have a bit of a look here at Ben Robert Smith. And as I say, folks, we want your support. We will find the petition, or you can find it yourself if you would like to sign that. There is a lot more going ahead behind the scenes, and I urge you to follow what's going on in Cairns News. I would also urge you to go to vofhq.com and download this, put it on your phone, share it with people far and wide if they are supporters. And even if that's all you can take and show on Anzac Day by way of support for Ben, it's going to go a long way. We need to let Ben, and we need to let all our Australian soldiers, both serving, currently serving, and our veterans, know that while the government doesn't have your back, while those officers who sent you into those areas and gave you those orders don't have your back, the Australian people do. And in return, one day, I hope that the military will understand that the Australian people would like to have them cover their back. I think the military are just being woken up to the fact that it doesn't really matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much of a hero you are, how brave, how strong, how honorable you are. You can be dragged down. You can have your name and reputation completely shredded, and it can be done essentially based on hearsay and lies. What hurts all the more is when a fellow who served in the SAS and supposedly served alongside you comes out in a civil action and undermines your position. And that's exactly what the piece of filth Andrew Hastie did in the case that Ben lost, the defamation case with Channel 9. But you needn't think Hastie had anything great to add. In fact, just the opposite. However, that hasn't stopped him. One of the current, in fact, the top headline, I think, at Sky News is Andrew Hastie reveals he could be called to testify in Ben Robert Smith trial. Well, I guess he could be called, but so could I. And the reality of it is, we would both be able to offer the exact same amount to the trial. Nothing. Nothing at all. You see, Andrew Hastie, under questioning from Ben's lawyers during that first trial, the defamation trial, admitted that while in Afghanistan and while he was commanding 30-odd men under him, he never fired a shot. He never killed anyone. He was never in an action that resulted in anything like that. He wasn't in one of the teams that Ben Robert Smith was part of. Ben wasn't part of the 30-man group that this piece of filth Hastie led. Now, Andrew Hastie was trained, highly trained. The Australian taxpayer put him through university and then spent money equipping him and training him, arming him for a job at the very tip of the Australian spear. At the very tip of it. And this bloke should have learned honour, should have learned a whole heap of things. But all he could bring to that trial when he was put on the stand and asked for his witness reports, his eyewitness accounts, all he could mumble was something about, well, there were a lot of rumours. You know, there was a lot of rumour. There were a few stories. Was there any evidence? No. There was just, stories, rumour. But it lowered his opinion of Ben. And these are some of the words that he used in the court. He lost respect, dishonour, all these nice, strong, powerful words coming from a bloke who has very firmly had his eyes on the Liberal leadership for many years. I think since before he actually got elected as the member for Canning in Western Australia. I think he's been groomed for this position to lead the Liberal Party. And I think we know who he's been groomed by, or the little group of, pant rolled up, one leg exposed, bloody goat-loving builders. So I would question why Andrew Hastie needs a headline that says, I might be called to Ben Roberts-Smith trial. Why? You were exposed in the trial that doesn't have to meet the high standards of a criminal trial. You were exposed to where the judge actually said, and I'm paraphrasing, Mr. Hastie's evidence was not evidence, it was rumour. Unsubstantiated fucking twaddle. And that's all it was. However, there was some evidence of Andrew Hastie's time. Trained Australian taxpayer dollars, probably to the tune of millions, gone into his education and his formal military training, his art of killing, as the SAS are known for. Highly trained, the elite. And Andrew Hastie was one of them, leading from the top, a group of 30 blokes. Except when they were in a shit little town trying to make some friends one day, they were handing out Red Bull, which is obviously a great way to poison the local population, but that's another story, and some water, trying to make friends with the local chief. Somebody in his group advised him that there were two men setting up a rocket attack about 1,000 metres away, and it was Hastie's job to not only confirm that, but to decide what actions should be taken. He decided on what I would think would be a very wise course of action, and that was to call in 2 US Apache attack helicopters and put a couple of rockets into the blokes who were setting up the rocket attack on the very small village that the Aussies had just turned up in. And that was essentially what he did, except Andrew Hastie gave the wrong coordinates. And when the 2 helicopters released their munitions, they didn't blow up 2 Hajis ready to fire rockets at the Australians. They blew up 2 unarmed boys playing in the sand. Accidents happen in war. Very bad things. But there were other things that were reported from Andrew Hastie's men, other things that you probably don't hear too much about. But Andrew Hastie has admitted publicly that this has happened. He just doesn't like to talk about anything that happened operationally over there. He says so out of respect for the men that he served with. He doesn't and will not talk about operations over there. Could that have anything to do with the fact that some of the men that he was in charge of were cutting the hands off the people that they had shot, the insurgents that they had shot, so that these people could be identified, I gather, by fingerprints later? Now, okay, cutting the hand off might be one thing. I thought the fingerprint scanners were all with, I know it certainly happens with American pointy-end troops. They've all got fingerprint scanners and all sorts of stuff. They can take blood and body samples if they have to. But not our guys. No, our guys cut the hand off. And I don't know what. Some of these hands were apparently kept, at least for the time the guys were in country in Afghanistan, were kept as souvenirs. There may have been a number of hands on a wall in a bar somewhere, just sitting on a shelf, if you know what I mean. Sick black humour, I would admit. But Andrew Hasty's men, the men Andrew Hasty was in charge of, the men Andrew Hasty was leading, did that. Where was Andrew Hasty while they were doing that? Did he condone that? Well, he says he was away somewhere else at the time they were doing that, somewhere else on the battlefield, which might have meant he was in the next room. Now, I'm not suggesting for a moment these blokes cut the hands off living people. All the people were dead from reports. And yes, I guess they have to be identified. You want to know which bad guys you've got. But I would just point out that Andrew Hasty's boys did that, not Ben Roberts-Smith. And are you hearing much about that? No, instead you're hearing, oh, I might have to go and appear at the Ben Roberts-Smith trial. I might have to give evidence. Beware Andrew Hasty. I don't think he is good for this nation. He is certainly not good for Ben Roberts-Smith. And I agree wholeheartedly with Sam from Two Worlds Collide. You cannot send our young men and women into those theatres of war. You can't train our young men and women up to kill and then expect them not to do it. Particularly our elite tier 1 operators who are trained to kill without compassion or compunction. However, that doesn't make them psychopathic murderers roaming around just looking for somebody to shoot. Some of these men, Andrew Hasty clearly not one of them, but some of these men are extremely intelligent human beings. I would go so far as to say most of them. Extremely intelligent men. Real alpha males. Big, fast-thinking, strong, committed. You don't send those people into a fighting environment where you cannot tell the goodie from the baddie because they all wear the same clothes until one of them pulls half his dress apart and has a grenade or a bunch of grenades strapped to him and he blows up in front of you, or when a rule of engagement that is placed upon our soldiers says in Afghanistan it's okay for a group of men who are armed with AK-47s to walk up the street towards you and come to you as long as all of those weapons stay pointed at the ground. Okay, I would agree. That seems pretty fair if all the weapons stay pointed at the ground. But yours have to be pointed at the ground as well. You can only raise your weapon if one of theirs comes up. That generally means we're going to hesitate. Even if we have to raise our weapon up, we won't be pulling the trigger like the bloke on the other side is as soon as he gets his up. We are going to lose people. Can you imagine what it's like to be one of those patrol members, having to deal with that kind of rule of engagement? That you've got to let these people that you can see are armed, you can see they hate you. You can just see it. You are close enough to see not just the whites of their eyes, but the twitching of the mustaches, the flicking of the eyebrows, the frowning. And you've just got to hope that they keep the gun down, or, better still, that the 14-year-old kid walking in front of them 100 meters or so coming towards you hasn't been strapped with 15 kilos of explosive like Sam said he had to endure when he was over there. He saw that happen, a 13 or 14-year-old strapped with 15 kilos of explosive and told to go and run into the platoon. These are tactics used in Vietnam, similar. And what happened to those people when they came back? They were ostracized. Oh, no, God, they were women and child killers. Well, I know from personal experience that sometimes children had to die because those children were carrying mortars or grenades or bombs or rifles or God knows anything else. And they were banking on the fact that good Australian men would not shoot them. And I don't know whether or not we lost people to that, but I suspect we probably could have. Now, of course, if you're in the military, you can expect nobody to come to your aid after they've ordered you to go and do whatever the hell it is. Some friggin' bureaucrat decides later, 17 years down the track, shouldn't have been done. Now, I did talk about the reasons why this, or I didn't talk about the reasons, but I questioned why this was happening in a civilian court. And it turns out that because Ben is now retired from the army, that a court-martial doesn't or isn't appropriate. Court-martials, and this is the terminology that they're using, court-martials are used for disciplinary purposes for enlisted people. He's no longer enlisted. The crimes that he committed were committed while enlisted and allegedly committed, I beg your pardon. And this is where the complexity of the case comes in, because the case has absolutely no evidence. It doesn't have a body. It doesn't have an autopsy report. It doesn't have a location. It doesn't have any blood splatter or ballistics details. They can't match a bullet to a weapon owned by any Australian soldier, much less Ben Roberts-Smith. I've been saying there have been 39 or so charges of indecency or murder or whatever. 39 have been dealt with, apparently. Nobody's gone to jail. Just these 5 appear to be the problem, which is interesting because it happens to be to do with Australia's most decorated soldier. And a bloke who obviously has elicited a great deal of respect from we the people. And if you've ever met, and I haven't been fortunate enough to, but if you've ever met Ben Roberts-Smith, I believe that you will walk away knowing that the man is honourable, that you can trust him. He's of strong character, and I would believe every word of that. Now, Ben's mother, her name is Sue. Sue has put together a 40-page document, which I have here, and I will send to Vince so that you can download off VOFHQ as well. But if you want to have a look at it, you can find it in the Cairns News article as well. I think I've put it up in the description of the show. So you can download this and peruse it at your leisure. But there are 40 pages there, all to do with Andrew Hastie and things that he got up to. He developed quite the relationship with Chris Masters, journalist, and Nick McKenzie from Channel 9. You'll notice that the whole way through, they've been cultivating and working together to come up with this story. So Sue, Ben's mum, has gone together and put through all of these excerpts. Anything in red is, I think, anything she has put in or has highlighted as something that we should be particularly interested in looking at. See little things like this. Hastie, who remains vexed that he was accused of being a raw criminal, but has been accused of any wrongdoing because he was elsewhere on the battlefield when the incident took place. He was in charge of the men who committed it. Right? He was in charge. That, to me, folks, is bloody favoritism, as Monty Python might say. Truly frigging disgusting. And I don't think it'll be long before Australian soldiers start questioning, which is not ideal in any defence or attack force for that matter, start questioning their bosses, start questioning their officers. Can I trust you, boss? Can I trust the order you give me today is an order you will stand beside me for giving and me executing in 20 years? Will you be there for me, boss? What if you're dead in 20 years, boss? Will you write me this note now so that I can leave it in my effects and my affairs, so that if I'm dead in 20 years and some little prick like Andrew Hastie wants to come out and accuse me of war crimes, I've got a defence so that my name isn't shredded, post-mortem or pre. Andrew Hastie should be made answer for the men he commanded. Oh, as elsewhere on the battlefield. The battlefield wasn't terribly big. The battlefield was probably a small hut or a small village at most. Were any of Andrew Hastie's other men responsible for some of the other souvenirs I've heard about? The souvenirs that were taken from the dead? And if so, why hasn't Andrew Hastie spoken about it? Why hasn't he come forward with those details? And why hasn't he been made explain that the men he commanded did this? Oh, I just had a particularly bad mob of SAS blokes. There's something that smells pretty bad, folks, around Andrew Hastie, and very bad indeed. And I fear that this is going to remove respect and honour and particularly desire from our enlisted men and women to trust the officers, the senior ranks, and particularly the brass, who at this stage of the game are complicit in hanging out Australia's highest decorated living war hero. I urge you folks, please go to our website, vofhq.com, download that poster and share it with as many people as possible. Take it with you on as big as you can print it out on Anzac Day. Hand it out on flyers. Get the people around you to wave it, and let Ben Roberts-Smith know, who may or may not be out of jail by that stage. Depends on how the bail hearing goes. I'm hearing April the 17th, but that might change. And let Ben Roberts-Smith know, let his team know the level of support that he has from we the people. We the people will not let our warriors who are sent to war in our name, who are trained by our government to be the tip of the spear, we are not going to let them have their lives ruined 17, 20, 15, 10 years later. It doesn't matter. If you want to bring our war heroes into the court, then you better bring the people forward who sent them to war so that they can suffer the same fate. Speaking of suffering fates, there are reports coming out that massive numbers of US soldiers are refusing to fight and die for Israel. This also is in line with what I'm hearing about the USS Gerald R. Ford, which is currently in Cyprus somewhere getting some holes filled in her. Those holes may have come from damage committed by the crew, or it may have been damage inflicted by Iran. Nobody's talking. That is the only sure thing. Donald Trump is proving that the world has lost his mind, even though diehard MAGA supporters are also there. They are realizing they were conned by the ultimate con man. Don't know that conned is the word. Calls are coming loud to use the 25th Amendment, get him out on psychological grounds. I don't think they'll bother. I don't think that'll be too hard to get him out on psychological grounds. Donald Trump is now in a position where it's very difficult for him to get out of this war saving face. It is quite clear that while the Straits of Hormuz are supposedly open, nothing's going through them, or very, very few vessels are going through. Now, while this did cause a huge drop in oil prices, as Vince showed us last night, they have stayed relatively low today, but once again, not a lot of boats going in or coming out. And there has been some other reporting that somehow Iran, who doesn't have any naval vessels left at all, have been able to put mines in the strait. And so there is a defined passage that you must follow, and only Iran knows it. So you've got to report into them and follow that passage, which takes you much closer to mainland Iran. And they get to see you, take down your name. They're not charging anybody to go through, but it is supposedly going that way because the rest of the straits have been mined. Well, maybe the biggest problem we have now is getting those mines out of the water because Trump blew up all the mine sweepers. Just saying. What can Trump do? Well, Netanyahu, for the want of a better term, I think is dead. I think they got him. And when I say they, I think Iran got him. Iran have, prior to the ceasefire being announced, Iran have pounded Israel, absolutely pounded Israel with ballistic weapons, which, according to Donald Trump, they didn't have anymore. They've also, Iran, sent a message to Kuwait in the form of ballistic missiles, and I think they tried again into Dubai as well, but I think they were shot down. Israel, for its part, decided it would agree with Donald Trump's ceasefire and Iran's ceasefire, and then promptly did this to Lebanon. These are residential areas, and residential areas that are ancient villages. Ancient villages. Now, of course, Iran has said, well, hang on, Israel's still blowing the shit out of people in Lebanon. That's not a ceasefire. And I guess that means that Donald Trump's ceasefire is not quite the win he's hoping it's going to be. As I said last night, it's like, here's the line of death. Do not cross. Oh, you crossed. All right, well, here's the next line of death. You cross it, you die. No, we'll cross that one too. Except this time it's the United States who are doing the backpedaling. Should he just put tail between legs, pull the US troops out of there and head home? Absolutely. But will he? Absolutely not. That would be losing face, and Donald Trump is never going to do that. Yes, there other things playing out behind the scenes? Yes, I'm sure there are, and I am equally sure that in part Israel is exposing itself, as if the world needs any more evidence of just the kinds of Zionist freaks their leadership are. The actions speak much louder than words. And the Zionists are doing everything they can at the moment to fulfill all their dreams. They need Donald Trump's help to do that. And I guess we will wait and see how much further help Donald Trump gets. Or will Donald Trump just die? I mean, let's be honest. If you really wanted to end this, Donald Trump has a stroke, goes into Bethesda or Walter Reed, doesn't come out. J.D. Vance becomes president. Oh, look, we've reassessed things. We're going to pull everything back for a little while. Let's just, calm down. Just saying. Seems like it could be the way out. certainly a way out. And maybe it will be the end for Donald John Trump that many people have hoped for. It might also be a bit of a furphy. I would say keep an eye on that. The Notice are doing some great work at the moment, and I've got to say, a shock to me today when I read this, and it should be a shock to every Australian. We're suffering from a shortage of white sperm donors. Yeah, you know where this is going. All right, women Australia-wide are struggling to access sperm from white donors, the ethnicity of the highest demand, with New South Wales particularly hard hit due to a clinic's misinterpreting a rule on overseas donors. One patient who is trying to have a lab baby on her own in New South Wales clinic Fertility First, which operates under the IVF giant Gina, was shocked after being told there were no white sperm donors available at all. City Fertility, another major IVF company with one of Australia's largest sperm banks, as of last week only had 13 Caucasian donors out of 60 total, and Monash IVF only had 4 white donors nationwide. Bloody hell! I've got to say, this is getting quite rough. The shortage comes after it was revealed last year that a white couple in Brisbane who chose a donor with fair hair and blue eyes, like the father, ended up with a black baby. And Australia's biggest fertility company, Virtus Health, kept that secret for 11 years. The mistake was caused by a US-based lab mixing up the samples from 2 blokes who had donated on the same day, and the couple were given a payout in exchange for signing a non-disclosure agreement. Did they have to swap the kid back to the rightful parents, or how did that all work? I don't know how that would work. Ellen's fertility specialist, Dr. Anne Clark in New South Wales, said sperm donor services had been effectively shut down due to the major IVF clinic chains wrongly believing overseas sperm donors were capped at 5 families in New South Wales, when in fact they were capped at 5 globally. When this was clarified by New South Wales Health in 2025, it ruled many donors out. Dr. Clark said that many clinics had already exhausted their compliant donor supplies, and bringing on new local sperm donor takes 9 months. What? I know a ton of wankers who can deliver much faster than 9 months for you. I mean, what? 9 months. Anyway, some city fertility patients are now travelling to Queensland, where the rules are slightly less strict, and the company has 7 white donors available, compared to 1 in New South Wales and 5 in Western Australia. The New South Wales government said it was aware of the issue and had brought in an exemption for affected patients, allowing the use of non-compliant embryos or sperm if they were already in storage. So, okay. What can I say, fellas? Time to give one up for the country? Well, if it's going to take 9 months to get you qualified, you're probably going to have to give a few up for the country. You'll be very tired. But for the benefit of all, I think we should all try and give that a go. I live in Queensland, which is apparently okay, but all the other states, all you other wankers in the other states, you lift your game. Clearly, Queenslanders are doing all right. If you've got children who go to school, see whether or not you can become someone who helps out at the school. Learn what they're teaching your children. And then be very aware that no longer will they be getting jabs for the flu at school, because it comes in a whole new way. Yes, they now have a nasal spray flu vaccine. And this jab-free technology comes free to you. Well, you don't have to pay, but your 3 to 5-year-old toddler just might pay with a great many things. Say their ability to speak, amongst other autistic traits. Be very, very, very careful, folks. And if you've got friends or family who are getting little ones jabbed at birth, be aware that as they're growing, this is what's going to happen to them. It's all going to start coming through their snoz. Thankfully, jab rates for everything are down across the nation. I was reading something the other day that says in Australia, the rates for parents refusing any kind of vaccine in hospital while their children are being born is through the roof, and that parents are actively monitoring their child basically from the moment they pop out to make sure that they're not being given anything untoward by medical staff while the baby's being taken away to be cleaned up or whatever. So, yeah, it's great news. But there are other things we should worry about, and particularly if you're of the unjabbed status. Have you thought about what happens if, God help you, you were in a car accident or something happened and you lost a bit of blood? You needed a blood transfusion. Well, rising numbers of Americans are refusing life-saving blood transfusions because they come from vaccinated donors. That's because, obviously, there is now a huge amount of information available on just what's in that blood. And Dr. David Nixon, Australia's very own, Brisbane's very own Dr. David Nixon, has been using his magnification microscopes to show exactly what happens inside a drop of the vaccines. And more recently, he's been showing some interesting cures to get this technology out of your body. Would love to have him on the show, but he doesn't pick up the phone these days anymore. There might be a reason for that. One last thing before we go. Congratulations, Victoria. You are rating right up there again. Car thefts in Victoria have risen 96.7% in the last 12 months. Nearly 100% rise in car thefts. Unfortunately, there hasn't been a similar lift in convictions, much less finding the little bastards who are mostly taking these things. And, of course, crime across the board in Victoria through the friggin' roof. The biggest criminals, of course, are still being left to do it any which way they like. And, of course, the biggest criminals are the friggin' government. Don't know what more we can do about those bastards, folks, other than bring on November. And Victoria, you need to make some big changes. Hopefully those changes will include not ever electing the likes of Jacinda Allen back in again. I know Craig, here's one for you folks in Bendigo and around her area. Craig Cole has another event. I think it's in front of her office. I want to say it's on the 22nd of April. I will get those dates clarified. Might even get Craig on to have a chat. But if you can go and help there at all, that would be absolutely amazing. Be great to see you show the flag for saving the children of this nation and getting rid of what must be, without doubt, one of the most horrible, truly horrible leaders any state or territory of this nation has ever had. Truly, truly abhorrent. But I guess we will just wait and see. They have had a stranglehold over Victoria for I don't know how many years. And, well, fingers crossed one day that will end. Speaking of ending, I'm just about at the end of things I can talk about. And I am having a certain issue with my screen and everything not playing it as it is. So if you'll pardon me for just one moment, I'm going to pop out and come back in again right now. There you go. Got it. Well, kind of got it. So we'll see what happens. Canada's starting aerosol vaccines from the air. Yeah, but maybe not starting it, Gay. They've probably been doing it for a while. It's, yeah, not good. Coffee. Going to have news for you on coffee very soon, folks. Keep the eye out for that. And I have been going a little longer than normal. I have now regained control of my screens. I was going to end tonight by showing you this little picture, and I will put it up so you can get a screenshot of it at the end. But if you are worried about what's happening in our skies in Canada, well, this is exactly what's happening around the world. I'll play it for you at the end. Also, folks, keep an eye out above. Very exciting. Apparently, there's going to be a spaceship coming back to Earth. It's going to be dodging somewhere in the vicinity of 14,000 satellites, which we haven't seen one picture of. We've seen a lot of other pictures of the Earth. We've seen a lot of pictures of the Moon. But we have not seen any satellites. 14,000 of them. Just want you to remember that. Just spinning around the Earth, doing what they're doing.
And what a clustered fuck this is.
Happy birthday, NASA. Folks, be safe on the roads. The dickheads are out there. They exercise their ability strenuously and vigorously on a daily basis. Don't be around them when they do it.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!